It's the Detroit Lions 2020 schedule preview and predictions part 4. You got versus Green Bay, at Tennessee, versus Tampa Bay, and at Minnesota. That's coming your way right now. Hello and welcome to Intermittent Sports, the channel where we go over these Detroit Lions, the Detroit Pistons, Detroit Tigers, and Michigan Wolverines. So if you're a fan of 1, 2, 3, or all 4 of those teams, go ahead and subscribe right here. Make sure you hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of the Michigan sports action. Alright, so if you've seen my previous 3 videos, you know that I have us sitting at 8-4 right now, which is much better than most expert analysis say we will be. You'd also know that I think we have to go 10-6 in order to make the playoffs, especially considering Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, and Leonard Fournette now joining the Buccaneers, giving one more good team in the NFC, which is already pretty stacked. That kind of stinks because you're now asking Detroit to go 2-2 in their final 4 games, and I mentioned those 4 teams that will be playing earlier. That's going to be a tough task. Can we go 10-6? Are we capable of doing that? Well, let's break it down now and see. Now, we start this slate against the Green Bay Packers. I've gone over that team thoroughly in past videos, so I'm just going to give you the bullet points here for your sake and for my sake. Number 1, Aaron Rodgers was the 8th best statistical quarterback in 2019, and Aaron Jones was 8th best in yards from scrimmage in 2019. Number 2, although finishing as NFC Conference runner-ups last year, for some reason, they decided to take Jordan Love in the first round to back up Aaron Rodgers, and they took A.J. Dillon in the second round to back up Aaron Jones. And number 3, the Green Bay Packers ranked 9th in the NFL in team defense last year. They were 14th against the pass and 23rd against the run. So I guess you could say they are a mediocre to good defense. However, they're not a good enough defense to continue to help Aaron Rodgers, who doesn't have a lot of help around him. And they did not take a defensive player in this year's draft until round 5, pick 175. So at the end of the day, I think it's safe to say that we're going to score a lot of points against Green Bay, but we're also going to give up a lot of points with our 26th ranked defense from a year ago. We made some improvements. How much better can we be? I'm not sure. I have us losing by 7 the first time around. We're 1 point better this time around. We lose to the Green Bay Packers in this game, 33-27. So we fall to 8-5, and now we're at Tennessee. Yikes. Tennessee's defense is a steady group. They had the 12th ranked defense a year ago. They were, though, pretty susceptible against the pass, which is obviously what the Detroit Lions do well. They were 24th in that category against opposing offenses. Do I really need to say it? Matt Stafford's going to have another big one. And the Titans were 12th against the run, so pretty good. But I'll say it again, 24th against the pass, 255 yards by air per game. I expect Stafford to have at least 300 in this one. Some standouts on that Titans defense are Vic Beasley, Malcolm Butler, Adoree Jackson. All in all, they are a pretty steady group on that side of the football. Against the Kansas City Chiefs, the eventual Super Bowl champions in the playoffs last year, they were up 17-7 before giving up 28 unanswered and losing 35-24. On offense, the Titans are led by their workhorse, Derrick Henry, who is an absolute beast. A year ago, he had 5.1 yards per carry, 1,540 yards, and he reached pylon 16 times. 2019 was very clearly Derrick Henry's "I'm here to be elite" campaign. What's impressive about him is all 4 seasons of his career have been better statistically every single year. That's what you want to see. He's now in a lot of people's top 5 when it comes to running backs in the NFL. The receiving core for the Tennessee Titans is a very diverse one. When you're talking about groups that can do a lot of different things, they're among one of my favorite groups in the league. I would not get too caught up in their stats. As you know, they had Ryan Tannehill throwing the ball for much of the season and Marcus Mariota before that. If you give them a better quarterback throwing them the football, they're at least among the leaders in the AFC as a group. Davis a year ago had 43 receptions for 601 yards and only 2 touchdowns. Adam Humphries had 37 receptions for 374 yards, also only 2 touchdowns. And the leader of the group, A.J. Brown, the go-to receiver, had 52 receptions for 1,051 yards and 8 touchdowns. These guys are really good, man, and cannot be blamed for Tannehill's inability to get them the football. And that's going to be the thing for the Titans in 2020 as a whole. Can Ryan Tannehill make the big throws, get over the hump, sustain drives, put points on the board to help out his offense and his defense? I've mentioned that he has weapons around him. He has good protection on that offensive line, led by our guy Taylor Lewan at offensive tackle. So where I'm getting at is, if Tannehill can make that leap this season, watch out for the Titans here in 2020. If he cannot, which I expect he won't be able to, they may have a little bit of a step back this year. He only threw for 2,742 yards in 2019. Again, though, Marcus Mariota did play some of the season. His big MO and where the Titans were successful under Tannehill though was that he does take care of the football. Last season he threw 22 touchdowns to just 6 interceptions, so he was a game manager, and that's a smart way to be when you have the type of team that the Titans have. There's a lot of ways that Detroit can win this football game, but I don't think we're going to, unfortunately. This is at Tennessee. It's in late December. Some of the COVID numbers might be dwindling down by then. They may have fans in the stands. Either way, they're going to have some kind of a home field advantage. I like the Titans in this game 27-23 in a close one. Alright, so now we're at 8-6, and even though we're at home, it's going to be a tough time having to beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Minnesota Vikings. We'd have to win both in order to go to 10-6, like I project you're going to need to go to make the playoffs. The Bucs, of course, have added Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, and now newly acquired Leonard Fournette to what is a very potent offense. They figure to be all in, all their chips on board this season. Let's see how that works out for them. Now, obviously, bringing in Brady is an upgrade to Jameis Winston from a year ago, and Jameis Winston a year ago had 5,109 yards and 33 touchdowns. So if Jameis Winston can do that, what can Tom Brady do, even at the tender age of 43? I'll tell you what Tom Brady won't do, and that's throw 30 interceptions the way Jameis Winston did. My God, how do you even throw 30 interceptions in one season? And I didn't even look up his fumbles lost. In the words of Charles Barkley, that's terrible. If you're curious, and I know you are because I was, the worst to ever do it was George Blanda for the Houston Oilers in 1962 when he threw 42 interceptions. That's really bad. Somehow, some way though, that Oilers team went 11-4. Now we all know what Tom Brady can do with Rob Gronkowski and how he utilizes him, even though Tom Brady's getting older and Gronkowski's been out of football for a year. But now Brady has the most talent he's ever had around him. He's got Chris Godwin, who a year ago had 86 receptions for 1,333 yards and 9 touchdowns. He has Mike Evans, who caught 67 balls for 1,157 yards and 8 touchdowns. And then he has OJ Howard, who had 34 grabs for 459 yards and just 1 touchdown. Expect for OJ Howard to find pay dirt more in 2020. Brady should be an absolute assassin this season, and now he's got Leonard Fournette to add to that mix, as well as LaShawn McCoy. And we may even see a resurgence out of LaShawn McCoy's career. Obviously, Tom Brady likes to throw the ball to the running back out of the backfield, and in this case, McCoy really likes to catch it out of there. Shady might be the Bucs version of James White. In fact, expect much of the Tampa Bay backfield to be involved and have good seasons this year. That includes Ronald Jones and Keyshawn Vaughn should they make the team. Defensively, the Bucs ranked 29th a year ago. That's obviously not very good, but they ranked first against the run, giving up only 73.8 yards per game. A lot of that though in lieu of the 30th ranked pass defense that gave up 270.1 yards per game in 2019. Now I can't remember, have I mentioned in my videos that I think Matt Stafford's gonna have a good year? I have. Alright, well let's say it again, another good game here to add to his great season. I mean sure, Tampa Bay added Antoine Winfield Jr. out of Minnesota with their draft pick this season. He got an A- provided when he was taken in the draft by CBS Sports, but still, can he do enough to help out that defense in just 1 year's time? I seriously doubt it as a rookie. Now, it's no secret as to why the Bucs are so good against the run. Just look at their defensive line. They have Ndamukong Suh, Jason Pierre-Paul, Vita Vea, and William Golston. Those guys are pretty legit. And then they have Devin White at that inside linebacker position. So what does this sound like to me? This sounds like yet another game where Detroit reaches its MO. An MO that we really saw under Jim Bob Cooter, and we probably won't see as much under Darrell Bevell, but still we almost can't help but to reach it in this particular game because the Bucs are first against the run and figure to be just as good this season. So that MO is becoming one-dimensional. So yeah, Matt Stafford's going to have a big day, but at the end of the day, he's not going to be able to keep up with that Bucs offense who is going against an easier defense in Detroit. A lot of points are going to be put on the board, but I do think the Bucs are going to stymie a lot of drives. Stafford's numbers are going to look really good, and you're going to wonder, why didn't we get more points on the board? The Bucs are going to really break through in this game. We fooled Tom Brady 2 years ago when he played with the Pats. We beat them in that game. We won't do that again here with the Bucs. They win this one 37-20. We fall to 8-7. 8-7. 8-7. I know. I got you all excited. I got myself excited when I said we were going to start 8-4 with every opportunity to make the playoffs. But that last 4-game stretch, man, it's a beast. And we end it here at home against the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously, we have a better shot at home. So do we have a chance to win? I had us losing the first time around. The answer is no. I don't believe we're going to win this game, unfortunately. Now, the Vikings were 10-6 a year ago, but they made a lot of mistakes in the offseason. They, of course, lost Everson Griffin, who is now a Dallas Cowboy. And then they had a really good draft. They drafted Justin Jefferson out of LSU to replace Stephon Diggs, who is now elsewhere. They picked up a position of need with a cornerback out of TCU, and they got a great value pick with Ezra Cleveland at the tackle position out of Boise State. That was an absolute steal of a pick. But they didn't shore up one position of need, a glaring weak spot on their offensive line. That is the interior of the offensive line, specifically an offensive guard. And I think that's going to hurt them this season. Sure, they got a lot of value in their picks, but they needed an offensive guard, point blank. I think the Vikings are in a 10-6, 9-7 type range this season. They're in the same predicament we're going to be in, where this last game is possibly a must win. If things play out the way I've said they're going to play out, this is going to be a 1 p.m. kickoff game where Detroit's going to have a lot of if this happens, we make the playoffs, if that happens, we make the playoffs. But by 4 p.m. time, we're going to be out of it. And unfortunately, we're not only going to be out of it because we're out of it in general, we're going to have too much that we have to go our way. We're also going to be out of it because we're going to fall to 8-8 and lose this game. And here's the thing. I'm as big of a Detroit fan as ever. I've loved this team. I've watched this team week after week after week, season after season after season, despite their inability to have success. I've tried to remain optimistic most years. But I also pride myself on being a non-biased Detroit Lions fan. And if I'm a non-biased Detroit Lions fan in a game where Minnesota might be in a must-win situation and Detroit might be in a must-win situation, who do I trust more? Which franchise do I trust more? Minnesota has made runs in the playoffs this last decade. They've had success despite turnover. They've won games that really matter. They've not let the pressure get to them. They've done everything that Detroit has not been able to do. Detroit, if you're curious, has not won a playoff game since January 5th of 1992. That is almost 30 years. That's almost my entire life of not getting the job done. Over 10,000 days of basically stinking it up. So naturally, if it does come down to it, and I think it might here, I like the Vikings to close the season with a 23-17 victory over our Detroit Lions. Alright, that wraps up our 16-game season over 4 spread out videos. Coming up soon, I'll have one condensed video of those 16 games if you missed the previous 3. And then next Sunday, September 13th, join myself and my buddy Phil Chinnery live as you watch the Lions game and hear our commentating and our thoughts. We're going to have a watch party on this YouTube channel. In order to see that when it comes out, you'll have to subscribe right here and hit that bell notification so you don't miss it. It's going to be a good time. We'd love to have you join us. We'd love to have you in this community as a whole. That's what we're trying to gain here, a huge community of Detroit fans, Detroit Lions, Detroit Pistons, Detroit Tigers, and Michigan Wolverines. Hey, if you're not a fan of all those teams, that's fine. We're going to be covering all of them. You can see just the Lions action only if that's all you're interested in. For now though, we're out of here, so I appreciate you watching. I'll see you next time. God bless and go Lions, baby. The season's about to start. Go Lions!